Philippa. How are you today?
Hello. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you ever so much for giving up some of your time to spend it here with us here on Geek Curio. And
Thank you for having me.
oh, it's an absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. I'm just really glad to finally get a chance to speak to you. We reached out to one another on Twitter, and you've got some fantastic and exciting projects that are currently incoming at the moment, haven't you?
Yes,
Such as
several things.
you're part of a Kickstarter, which is the Traveller's Guide to the Candy Realms.
That's right. Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, I think was it in July you released your first D&D campaign, Spiretop,
Yeah.
which is quite fascinating as well. And I've been
Yeah.
reading up on that. But the question that I ask absolutely everyone who comes on the show is, how did you first start getting into the role playing and tabletop RPGs in the first place?
So, I very first was introduced to the idea by my dad, who played the original Advanced Dungeons and Dragons with my mum and aunt at university. So he introduced me to the monster manual during a long car journey and was like, just entertain yourself. But I didn't start playing until university, and I joined one of my university's role-playing society. And the first game I actually played was Call of Cthulhu based, and then I moved on to D&D after a little bit of time, after playing a campaign there. And then over time I got into DMing, and now I'm writing adventures as well.
Oh, fantastic. That's absolutely great. And have you ever, well, obviously you say you played a couple of campaigns. Is there any, have you done any DMing at all?
Yeah, so I started my main bit of DMing. So I've done a few one-shots before, mostly from the Uncaged anthology, which I thought was really good. And then I decided during lockdown to start a full campaign with my friends because our normal game had been cancelled, couldn't meet up properly. And so we started as just going, oh, we'll just bung some one-shots together, and then over time went, but backstory, we must put it all together into a proper story, and now it's turned into a full campaign, which they seem to be enjoying so far. They keep coming back. So that's the main game I'm playing at the moment.
And are you doing that, obviously you're doing that all online. Are you using like Fantasy Grounds or Roll20, or are you just doing Theatre of the Mind?
We use Roll20 for maps, and then the rest we just do over video.
Yeah.
Which works surprisingly well. I actually really enjoy using Roll20 for maps rather than having to draw them out, because I'm quite a visual person, so I enjoy spending probably too long making maps and meticulously planning, and then going, they haven't even gone to that place, and they're not going to use that map at all because they've skipped that section.
I happen to know a DM who is just like that, but I won't mention it. And as a player, is there any sort of favourite class or character that you enjoy? Have you got any memorable characters that you would like to share with us?
I think my favourite class is, at the moment, Bard. It's a bit of a cliche, but I really enjoy playing the Bard. And my favourite character has become a brand name in our campaign history. She's Tiffany Whispers, TM, because Tiffany Whispers is only her brand name, and she goes to try and explore the world and write memoirs about her adventures and try and get famous. So in fact, we enjoyed her so much, I ended up making her in WWE 2K18, the video game, and making her wrestle loads of random wrestlers. Again, I think I get way too into making extras for games, but yeah, she's probably one of my favourite characters I've made.
My Bard had a Twitter account, so...
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
okay.
she
I feel less bad.
She still has a Twitter account, and I don't know if I actually know the password or not, but I haven't logged on in a very, very long time. But she did have a Twitter account, and I did literally just switch into her mindset when I was actually her. But yeah, you gotta love bards, and at the end of the day, as a writer, a bard can be a writer as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a musician or a dancer. So besides D&D, are there any other role-playing games that you like to play?
Yeah, so as I say, the first role-playing game I ever played was actually, well, it was based on Call of Cthulhu, but it was modern Call of Cthulhu based on the Laundry Files, which is by Charles Stross, which is basically modern Cthulhu with lots of computational demonology. So I still really enjoy that system. I think it makes a lot of sense with all the skill checks, and also being more based on I think it describes it as if you could do this normally, not under pressure, you don't need to roll. It's only when you're under pressure. And then I recently discovered Quest, which I think has a similar idea, which is you should only roll for luck as opposed to for skill. And I think that's quite a fun system. It gives you a bit more sort of like leeway to think about how you want to do something. Because sometimes I find D&D checks, I want to describe something a bit outlandish, and then they go, well, you need to make an athletics check to jump up on that table to do a cool flourish. And then I fail. Whereas I think I should just be able to jump up on the table. But maybe the game masters I'm playing would disagree with that. So.
No,
I like that you can play different systems depending on how you want your game to go.
Yeah, I mean, I love looking at other systems because D&D 5th edition isn't the only thing out there. It's just the most popular. Another interesting one is Modiphius Games do quite a few, and I've been playing around with the Star Trek Adventure ones, which is 2d20s, and that's worth a look. It's quite interesting. I do find that I got really confused with ship combat, so I just skipped it all out. So that made the game a little bit rubbish. The players liked it, but I don't know.
For me, any game that I definitely fall more on the role play side of the game than necessarily the combat and math side. So anything that encourages me to do more role play and less combat, I'm interested in.
That's me. I've got a game. I'm starting a game tomorrow, and I had to I only know one person in the party, but the DM is very much all about. He's quite clearly an experienced storyteller, and he's created his own world and backstory and everything. And when he said, what sort of character would you like to play? I said, well, I'm really bad at filling in character sheets. My brother-in-law normally does it for me because I will always make at least one or two mistakes. So when I explained to him what sort of a player I was like, he was just really, really happy because I was more of a role player than... Yeah. I do enough maths in my day-to-day job. I don't want to do it in my fun time.
Yeah. I mean, I avoid maths in my day job as well, so hence not wanting to do it in games either.
Yeah,
that's what calculators are for.
It's a necessity. Some people enjoy it, not me.
Exactly, yeah. Different games, different people.
So, with playing D&D in university and with your friends, what inspired you to, or encouraged you to make your own adventures for it?
So, firstly, I think definitely reading the Uncaged anthology really inspired me. So that's like a collection of adventures inspired by mythology, but the whole sort of emphasis is on maybe the monster isn't always the bad person, and particularly also looking at female presentations of monsters and kind of flipping up those stories on their heads. And I really enjoyed reading those, and I remember thinking, oh, this is nicely laid out, I like how this is done, but I think I could do something similar. So that's kind of what inspired me to try and put some of my ideas out there and see if anyone else liked them. And then from that I saw, so Ashley Warren, I think, compiled the anthology, and so I looked up her and saw that she runs this RPG writer workshop. So I decided I have a bit of time and I have a bit of money from various council events, thanks to COVID. Why don't I try this RPG writers workshop and see what happens?
So, I'm going to go a little bit off-piste if that's okay, because you're the second person that I've had on the show on the RPG Writers Workshop. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a writer. In my day job, I write stuff that only a computer will understand. So, what is the RPG Writers Workshop, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So, there's an overarching website with various courses, but the main one is a month-long course where you start with basically nothing, and they give you different lessons throughout the month, and the goal is by the end of the month you will have written your first one-shot ready to be published on either DM's Guild or Drive Through RPG or where it is you want it to go. You don't have to have done anything before, although I think a lot of people who've done it have done sort of maybe like a class or a modification, although I hadn't done that. So it really is open to anyone who kind of wants to do it. I also went in with a slight idea of what I wanted to do, which I think helped. I know there are a few people who, like, there's not actually any pressure to finish by their month's deadline, apart from you get to be put in a bundle, which is quite good advertising. But Otherwise, you can take at your own pace as well, which is quite good.
That's good.
So that's kind of basically what it is.
And is that ongoing every month, or?
No, so it happens a couple of times a year. So there's this one in July, and then I think the next one's in either November or December or something like that.
Interesting.
But it'll be on their website when the next one is.
Interesting. And from the RPG Writers Workshop, I assume this your Spiretop, your adventure in D&D 5th edition, is that
Yes.
what was the product of the RPG Workshop?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So Spiretop, Intrigue in the Aristocracy was the result of that. Yes.
I picked up a copy the other day and I've been reading through it.
Thank you.
And I actually got quite fascinated about it because, like you just said earlier, it's with role-playing games. A lot of people forget about the R in role-play, and it seems to be fight. But being able to role-play game, and this particular adventure is very much like it's almost like a whodunnit, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the aim. Was a murder mystery without a murder.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
So, and you have the Aarakocra, and I will say to the viewers that Philippa actually helped me with pronunciation before the video started. So.
Which means if we're both wrong, it's on me.
Yes. I feel bad. I feel like I've just done. To be honest with you, that's probably not a million miles away from what I was saying in my head for the past few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the blame will lie with you. So what can you tell us? We don't want to give spoilers away to the viewers. So,
no, yeah.
But what can you tell us about Spiretop?
Yeah. So the way I describe it is, so Spiretop is a reclusive Aarakocra city that has grown up in the mountains. It is setting agnostic, so it's any mountains you like. And you, as adventurers, are invited to the Dawn Chorus Ball, which is an annual ball where all of the Aarakocra go, all the nobles of Aarakocra society go to sing in the debut of the new members of their society. So you turn 18 as an Aarakocra and you go to this ball and you sing, and then you get to take part in adult life.
Mm-hmm.
So you're invited either by Mr. Beacon Bodminton or by Captain Kester of the Guard, and you're invited to go. However, when you are there, a bird crime occurs, and I'll kind of put it off here, but basically one of the Aarakocra noble ladies loses her voice. Her voice is stolen along with a pendant, and you need to find out who it is that took it. It's the basic gist, but I think I say in the description, it's primarily designed as a mostly social one-shot, but you can have some combat depending on where your characters go.
Yeah.
But it is very much designed for someone who doesn't necessarily always want to have a combat-heavy one-shot.
You've created this wonderful cast of characters, and I'm not going to start reading off the names because the names are very cleverly done. And you can tell where the inspirations come from as well. Like you said, Captain Kestra is one of the characters. But this wonderful cast of characters where the players can have all sorts of interactions and asking questions, and are you going to have someone like who's going to use their persuasion to try and get some information, or would they possibly do a deception check in order to underhandedly do, and it's just the way I read it is just like there's so many ways that I could do it, and I was just thinking about all the characters that I have in my head. It's like, how would Shaz the Bard do this? How would Turks and Necrocleric do it?
Yeah.
And I think that one just started fueling a lot of evoking a lot of thoughts and about how I would play. The worst thing about buying products is once you read it, it's kind of like spoiled for you in a way.
Yeah, you can't play it now.
You have to DM it. You have to DM it, and it's kind of like it's almost like just a Schrodinger's cat. It's either you buy it and not read it and get someone else to play it for you, or you buy it and read it and then you can't play it.
Yes, definitely.
It's horrible. I'm gonna have to do, like in Men in Black where they just wipe your memory for the past couple of days.
Yes, yeah.
That's got to be a thing. So surely in 2020 we should have come up with that by now.
Yes.
And Spiretop is not all you've been working on, because you currently have a Kickstarter out. You're part of a group.
Yes. So Shall I explain, or do you want to talk?
I'm just gonna, yeah. I know it. It's just I have to keep bringing it up again. The Traveller's Guide to the Candy Realms, and every time I say that, I feel like I should be saying the Hitchhikers.
Yeah, quite. I think I don't tend to shorten it to just Candy Realms, which seems to helps me in remembering. Basically, so they're called Aberrate Press. Again, this is one I've only read. I should have probably checked that.
Aberrate Press. That's how I read it. That's how I read it.
And
I'm going to say that before I told you how to say it. So this one's
exactly.
on me. Okay.
Yeah. So they've started this Kickstarter, which is now the initial Kickstarter is funded for a Traveller's Guide to the Candy Realms, which is a setting guide for D&D, as you might expect, set in a world made of candy. And I saw them being interviewed, and then they put out a call for writers to write a one-shot as a stretch goal for their Kickstarter. And then we had a chat, and now I am the writer for that. So if they reach £2,000, which are only £200 off, I think.
Yeah, it's not far.
Then we will meet that stretch goal, and there will be a one-shot written by me that will be anyone who buys the PDF tier or higher also gets a copy of the one-shot to play with the setting.
Right, so if you sign up to this Kickstarter now, you will get a free one-shot from Philippa, and that's got to be good. I will have to check it out later. I am running low on funds at the moment, but it is payday soon, so I might have to check that one out.
Well, I think as of today, so the Kickstarter ends, I've written it down, the 17th of September. So as of today, there's about 2 more weeks left.
Would you have it? That is literally the day I get paid, I think. I shouldn't be checking, but yeah, there's a very good chance I will be paid on that day. Damn. Well, let's say, well done with that. Was there quite stiff competition you had to beat out to?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I reached out, I did my pitch, and then they went, yeah, it's cool, let's do it.
They're like you. I choose you.
Exactly.
And you also have a game resource as well, which you have out on the itch platform, which is Witchcraft Craft Witch.
Yeah.
So
so that's part of Witch Jam, which is being run by Alicia Furness. And I saw it and I went, oh, that's really fun. And then I think I did a tweet. I was saying I was just reading a knitting magazine because I also knit, and I went, what if I had a little craft witch who could knit things? So it's free on Itch because I kind of put it together quite quickly, but it's just 5 magical items that a craft witch might use. So for example, there's a fisherman's Gansey jumper that is knit with various symbols that can protect you, and there's a frogget token, which is like one of those the music maker frogs, and when you make noise, because frogget in the knitting community, you rip it back, ribbit, frogget. So if you do that, you can pick time and redo it.
A bit of a knitter's joke there.
Yeah.
And do you have any other upcoming projects in the pipeline at all?
So currently the main project is obviously getting this one-shot finished for the Kickstarter, but I am quite interested in writing some more one-shot adventures. So my day job is I'm doing a PhD in medieval history, so I read all these amazing sources all the time, particularly ghost stories and interesting myths and things like that. And there's loads of them that are just really, really interesting, so I'd be I've got some ideas of I'd quite like to write some adventures based on some of those ghost stories, basically. And use a bit of my own general knowledge.
I do like a good ghost story. It's one of my hidden vices. I'll watch a YouTuber who just does these 20-minute videos just explaining a story that happened, and it could be cryptids, ghosts, but the ghost ones I love the most. That sounds really interesting, and especially with a medieval setting. You could almost do like a medieval Scooby-Doo.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
If you think about it, they are a party.
Exactly, definitely. Write that down.
And finally, the final question I'm going to ask you is, what advice would you give to anyone who's wanting to write their own D&D campaigns or adventures?
So, firstly, just do it,
Hmm.
as as the meme says, just do it. But also, I think one of the things that was really helpful that I did learn from the workshop, and I think it's something I'm going to use, is have a schedule and set time aside for yourself.
Hmm.
And don't try and do it as this extra thing. It needs to be something that's worked into your schedule, and treat it as an actual project that you are proud of and you really want to do well, and therefore you're going to put a lot of effort and treat it as a sort of sacrosanct time to really try hard at it. And that's something that's really helped me, I think, is not sort of going, oh well, it's something else I'm going to do. It's no, I really want to do this and I want to do it well, and I'm going to put some time aside and just get on with it.
Excellent. Well, thank you ever so much for spending the time with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you about the things that inspire you in fantasy, role-playing, Dungeons and Dragons, and I really enjoyed your D&D campaign. If anyone wants to render me unconscious and then force me into a game while I have no memory, I would really appreciate it. But Spiretop...
Or someone else buy the next one and run it for you.
Oh, that'd be even better. Yes. Well, what I said...
You haven't read it yet.
What we need people to do is actually go to the DM's Guild and make sure that they grab Spiretop, because I think it looks like a fantastic adventure murder mystery without the murder. And then they'll get notified of your next one.
Yes. Although that might be on Drive 2 because it's not.
That might be... Yes.
We'll see.
I've been lucky enough to speak to quite a lot of writers, so I'm starting to understand the difference between the two. I always thought, well, I bought it on Drive for RPG, but it's here in DM's. No, I understand the things behind that, so that's fine. But no, thank you ever so much for your time, and it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
It's